Hello. Today I'll be investigating crash of Airfrance Flight 4590 and going over the events and causes of the accident. On July 25, 2000, at Paris-Charles de Gaulle Airport, Airfrance Flight 4590 was ready for a flight to JFK Airport, New York, scheduled at 12:30 p.m. The airplane was a Concorde carrying 100 passengers, mostly from Germany, and 9 crew members that consisted of 2 pilots and 1 flight engineer. Captain Christian Marty was the pilot in command of this flight on the left, and was a highly experienced pilot but was only on the Concorde for a little over a year, after flying mainly the A340s. First Officer Jean Marcot and Flight Engineer Gilles Jardineau were more familiar with the Concorde than the captain. Chain of events. At 2:40 p.m., Flight 4590 was cleared for a runway 26 right after a long delay. The captain saw a technical fault with engine number 2 and requested for inspection and repairs to be made. At 2:42 p.m., the aircraft lined up for the runway and starts accelerating. After the aircraft passes its rotating speed, air traffic controller Gilles Logelin spots the left wing of the plane engulfed in flames and immediately notifies Captain Marty, who is not aware that the wing is on fire. The captain decides to continue rotating and cannot abort due to not enough runway length, and it passed its rotating speed and was traveling at 323 kilometers per hour. Captain Marty asks for the landing gear to be raised, but the landing gear does not respond, and in the only video recording of the crash, the landing gear can still be seen in its deployed position. He then starts to see engine number 1 and engine number 2 gradually lose power. The flight crew decide to try and land at an alternate airport, Le Bourget, which was located 5 kilometers away. Captain Marty starts to turn towards the airport, but his efforts have little effect and he loses control of the aircraft. The plane entered a bank to the left at 110 degrees, which caused the plane to stall. And at 2:44 p.m., Flight 4590 crashed into a hotel, killing everyone on board and 4 people on the ground, a total of 113 casualties, with another 6 injured. And this is the video recording of the crash. This is not too good quality, but in the better quality version, you can see the landing gear still deployed, and you can see the left wing of the plane on fire. So what happened? The BEA, which is the Accident Investigation Bureau of France, investigated this accident and found numerous factors. Some of these factors have been proven to lead to the crash, but some have not. They found that the aircraft was overweight by 810 kilograms, and they found out that engine number 2 had a thrust reverser issue the day before the accident, which was what caused the delay the day of the accident. These 2 factors have not been found to actually lead to the crash itself. The BA actually found foreign object debris, FOD, 43 centimeters in length on the runway that Flight 4590 took off from, 26 right. It was an engine mount from a McDonnell Douglas DC-10 operated by Continental Air. The aircraft took off 5 minutes before Flight 4590 heading to Newark. The aircraft was tracked back to Houston and had gone through maintenance a couple of weeks before. This is what got the NTSB involved in the investigation, and they found out that the mount was not installed by company and manufacturer standards. As you can see, this is the engine mount that they found on the runway 26 right, and as you can see here, there are holes along the entire metal strip where there are not supposed to be holes. This is a smooth strip and it's not supposed to have holes at all. The mechanics who installed it drilled holes, and you can't really see that well, but along the edge there are ridges, and the metal strip with the engine mount is supposed to be completely smooth. So this is not at all with company or manufacturer standards. As Flight 4590 went down the runway, it ran over the engine mount piece. The aircraft was so fast and the metal piece was sharp enough which caused one of the tires to burst. The pressure of the tire exploding made a 4-kilogram piece of rubber shoot into the bottom of the left wing. The tire piece did not penetrate the wing, but the speed and weight was so strong that the shock waves of the impact caused the fuel tank on the left wing to crack and leak, and made some of the landing gear wiring tear apart. The crack got larger over time, which made 75 liters of fuel flow through the engine every second. The exposed landing gear wires hitting each other created sparks, and these sparks flow through the engine with the fuel, which creates a large fire. As the engines got flooded with fuel, they lost power, but the fire kept growing. The fire temperatures were so strong that the left wing of the Concorde started to melt, which caused the pilots to lose control. The aircraft lost two engines and the wing was melting and therefore could not create substantial lift to fly. It entered a sharp bank, stalled, and at 2:44 p.m., Flight 4590 crashed. So what were the effects of the accident? All Concorde flights were grounded 4 days after the accident by Airfrance, which is the company that created the Concorde. Airfrance started a program to enhance and make the Concorde safer. They first strengthened tires after finding 7 other tire-related incidents before the accident, and they also made fuel tanks in bulletproof Kevlar lining to prevent cracking, and they also made the undercarriage wiring stronger to prevent tearing. 14 months after the crash of the Concorde was put back in operation. However, on October 24, 2003, it had its last flight due to high maintenance and repair costs, low passenger counts, and more efficient aircrafts available, thus ending the supersonic age of travel. Poor teamwork and communication and lack of regulation could have been a factor of the accident. The mechanics trained under McDonnell Douglas for maintenance either installed the mounts without getting proper training and supervision, or took shortcuts to make their job easier, maybe due to fatigue and being overworked. How I would have mitigated this accident and prevented it from happening again in the future would be to have more supervision on the maintenance crew and take FOD prevention more seriously and enforce FOD prevention on airport grounds for all airport workers. I then interviewed Professor Deborah Hannaberry at Vaughan College, who is an experienced pilot who has a lot of experience, a lot of flight time, and I wanted to ask her a couple of questions to get a pilot's perspective and to see the perspective of an aviation professional to enlighten me on the subject. The accident was not the Concorde's fault, but mainly on McDonnell Douglas's part. The DC-10 had a history of weak and faulty engine mounts, which was a cause of American Airlines Flight 191 crash, when an engine fell off of the left wing, killing everyone on board. The way the mechanics who installed the engine mount did not go with company and manufacturer standards, which is a safety hazard and cannot be acceptable under any circumstances. McDonnell Douglas and Continental Air should have had more thorough and enhanced training for their maintenance crew. FOD prevention and removal should have been more of a regular process for Charles de Gaulle Airport. Workers and staff should check the runway before and after every flight to make sure the runway is clear of any objects. And this is what I asked Professor Hannaberry. Do you feel as if the crash was on McDonnell Douglas's part for not having strong enough engine mounts, or was it Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport for not checking for FOD on the runway? She said McDonnell Douglas was known for having structural issues with that plane, but many of the problems had been addressed prior to 2000. Charles de Gaulle was a little late in that day, performing late in the afternoon. I believe that time only 3 runway checks per day were performed in France. The ICAO now requires 4 per day, which makes any debris more likely to be spotted. I asked her, was it discontinuation of the Concorde justified while the DC-10 is still in service? She answered that the accident was one more nail in the coffin of the Concorde, but not really the main reason it went out of service. The Concorde was not a great business model. DC-10s were very commonplace and had more incidents and accidents. The safety got better as structural problems with the plane were modified. I believe they've been out of production for some time now, so we will see fewer and fewer of them as their parts and airframes time out. Do you think getting rid of the Concorde was a step back in aviation technology, or was it a step in the right direction for aviation safety? She said, I don't think that the loss of the Concorde makes aviation any safer. It was a good plane, but it was hard to turn a profit carrying so few passengers compared to newer planes. The DC-10 belonged to Continental Air. The mechanic who installed the engine mount did not go by manufacturer standards and installed incorrectly. Should Continental Air be put to blame for the accident? She said, unless another qualified investigative team determined another cause for the accident, then yes, it makes sense to hold Continental responsible civilly. The practice of holding employees criminally responsible for mistakes is considered to be contrary to safety. And these are my references. Thank you.